Hey, it's Katie Moran. Welcome to Artistic Spirit. Today I'm here with Tineke Tammes, a career and creativity coach for high achieving but restless women feeling stuck at work. She helps you get clear on what you want with her career freedom coaching program, and then you can go and make it happen. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me, Katie. Nice to be here.
My question for you is how can someone use creativity to create a more fulfilling life and career?
Yeah, that is a big question. I mean, creativity is a real backbone of my career freedom coaching program. My freedom coaching program is aimed at helping women get clear on what they want. Because when women come to me, some of them just say, I don't even know what I like doing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And because, you go to university or you roll into a job and then all of a sudden you have built yourself a career and 15, 20 years later you wake up and you think, my God, is this it?
Mm-hmm.
um, and what they then start doing is they start to think really hard, because that's what you do, isn't it? You start to think really hard. Okay, I should know what I want. I should know what I
Mm-hmm.
want. And then all I've got to do is go and get there. Because in the 10, 15, 20 years that you have been working, what you've done is you've moved jobs. And that was all fairly painless. But now you come to a point in your career where it feels a little bit more harder. It feels as if
Mm-hmm.
it is sort of a monumental change where where you want something completely different and you don't know what that is. So, and my thought is um, my sort of the backbone of my coaching is that that a career change is a creative process.
Mm-hmm.
And for a creative process, you need your creative brain, your logical brain, which is brilliant at moving you from A to B to C, and strategize all the points that you need to pass to get there. Um, your creative brain, you
Mm-hmm.
need it to come up with ideas. You need it to think in pictures. That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what your creative brain does best. And you know what it's like when you visualize something, your brain already thinks it's happening. So if you visualize what you want your life and your career to look like, your brain thinks it's already happening, and it's therefore much more likely that you can go and make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, as I said, what is going through my coaching program as a golden thread is creativity, how to awaken your creative brain. Now, in the beginning, before we even start with my program, I help you get into that space. So I say to my clients, first of all, you need time and space to focus. So do away with all the distractions,
Mm-hmm.
and really pay attention to this process. And then I say to them, now take your list of the hundreds of things that you need to do or think you should be doing but aren't, and
Mm-hmm.
go and pick a couple of them and say, okay, these are things I really, really, really would love to do, but somehow never got around to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And take one of them and go and do them. Plan it in the weekend. Go and see those paintings in that gallery. Go and visit that museum. Go and do something with your kids. Go and buy yourself a nice notebook and a couple of colored pens and go and do something.
Mm-hmm.
So go and do something creative. Go and do something that fills your soul. And that's where we start, because that is where the whole discovery of yourself The rediscovery of
Mm.
yourself starts with rediscovering who you are and what you like doing in the first place. Because people forget, after so many years stuck in a box, people forget what it is that they actually like doing. So that is sort of step number one. And we sort of continue that throughout the
Mm.
coaching program. I encourage people to take action as well, to get out there and start getting curious, follow your nose,
Mm.
follow your curiosity, find out about yourself. What is it that you always watch on TV? What do you always read about? What if you did something completely different? What if you read something that you never read before, but find out you're really curious about? These are all ways of triggering your creativity,
Mm.
and yeah, to find out who you are and to find out who you can become going forward.
Yeah, something that you mentioned here that I don't want to like kind of like gloss over is
Mm,
this idea that you see people when they feel like they don't know what they want, they try to think their way out of it. I'd love for you
mhm,
to go more in depth on that because I think that that is so common, especially today with like social media. People find it easier to kind of like go places in their mind like without even moving, like just with like you can look something up or you can look at a certain profile or things like that. And I think it's important to kind of like reframe that narrative that is so prevalent today, that everything every solution, every problem is inside our heads, when so much of life is to the experience of it. And actually that's the beautiful part about creativity, is that it really gets like an experience, and not
mm.
like I don't think you can do anything creative without like actually having a moment of experience.
Uh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. The women I work with are often, um, yeah, to some, let's say it like this, some of them are quite introverted as
Mm-hmm.
well,
Mm-hmm.
which means that talking to people and going out there and experiencing things in the real world is a real blocker for them, because of that introversion as well. So that's an added sort of blocker that doesn't help them in
Mm-hmm.
that respect. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if I had got money for every time someone said, "Oh yeah, but I've been scrolling job descriptions for ages just to find what it is that I want to do," well, that is not your solution. That is
Mm-hmm.
literally not your
Mm-hmm.
solution. For start, they're horribly written, and who has ever said, "Yes, I've read my dream job in a job description"? No one ever did. So yes, I agree with you. Creativity is experience. And, Brené Brown said it so well, saying for you to do something practical, something with
Mm-hmm.
your hands, has got so many benefits to. Um, to your mental and physical well-being on its alone. So that in itself is a good reason to embark on creative activities. But um, there is, it's not just that. It is also about, getting creative experiences, getting curious about what is out there, because,
Mm-hmm.
what it is that you want to do, what it is, it has to take place in the real world. Um, and the real world is out there, not in your phone.
Hmm.
And that, but you could be mistaken for thinking that, but it's out there, and it is
Hmm.
amongst real people,
Hmm.
and it is amongst in nature, and it is when you're meeting people in events or in venues and wherever you decide to go. So yes, I absolutely totally agree with you. For you um, to get new, no, let's say it like this. For you to get creative, you need to get new experiences. And these experiences are not taking place in your phone, they're taking place out in the real world. So go and experience that and get curious and find out. And then um, that will give your brain new input. It will feed and nurture your creative brain. That in turn will support you in opening up your world for you and coming up with new ideas and new connections.
Yeah, I have a technical question.
Mhm.
So what are kind of like just like troubleshooting, like what are kind of like things that people usually like get wrong when they're doing this process? So like for instance, do people like not put it in their calendar? Do people just like have their life kind of like pass by and they just don't find time for it? Do people like have an avoidance to do it because it's going to bring about change? And just kind of like what are kind of like the strategies that people can implement so that they can make sure that they actually do put creativity into their schedule.
Yeah. So, I mean, this all comes down to accountability, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say all of the above,
Mm-hmm.
Kate, to what you just said, because it is about these things. I mean, one of the first things I say to them is, clear your calendar.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to take the time to do this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
yes, to write in a journal, yes, to go Julia Cameron would call it artist dates,
Mm-hmm.
to get out there and get new experiences, to talk to people, when it comes to jobs, or getting curious about what people do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the world has changed so much, and there
Mm-hmm.
are jobs out there you'd never heard of 5 years ago. There are lives people are building that wouldn't have been possible so many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much out there, and when the office doors shut behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and you do what you do, you don't see all these things. So yes, it comes down to accountability. Of course, my clients, when they work with me, have got the weekly or fortnightly accountability that gives, to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I said I would do this. So now I bet, I don't know, better do it, because I'm not telling them off, but I will ask. um, uh, and they want to do it as well. And
Mm-hmm.
once they start
Absolutely.
doing it, you can see the benefits. You can feel the benefit of doing these things. And the added bonus of it is as well, scrolling job descriptions and getting more and more discouraged,
Mm-hmm.
and getting more and more depressed and feeling more and more stuck, as opposed to getting out there. Even if you are introverted, even if you are scared of taking that step, once you've done it, your confidence will go through the roof, because
Mm-hmm.
you have taken a step that you were scared of taking. So
Mm-hmm.
that is an added bonus as well, for you to step outside of that comfort zone and to take those steps that will, yes, start providing you with the next step on your journey towards clarity on what you want to do, but also with a lot of confidence about actually having taken the steps rather.
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, as a kid, you learned to ride your bike. not by reading about it, but by actually climbing on, on your bike and going
Mm-hmm.
off. And yes, you fell
Mm-hmm.
over a couple of times, but you still did it. And the confidence that goes with that is enormous. And it's no different from now when you're doing new things, when you
Mm-hmm.
know, stepping on your metaphorical bike and go and do something that you wouldn't normally do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this kind of like path of like feeling stuck and thinking you can think your way out of it, and then
Mm.
kind of like going to this place of like changing your mindset and coming from this idea of being creative and experiencing creativity and like letting that kind of like show you the way. And even like I think you kind of like have a few parts to this idea that those creative experiences can like bring you to the idea of what you want in your future life, like feel it right now. And also like it can show you, I don't know if you experienced this before, but it could show you like evaluate what you don't want. Like say like you do something and it's
Absolutely.
actually like you like the creativity, but it's like say the environment isn't great. You go to like a cafe, and that like shows you kind of like this idea that there are things you like and things you don't like. And I think in our society we really underestimate how important it is to like have preferences, because that is like such a big part of who we are and to
Mm.
know ourselves. And that a lot of the time I feel like all of us are kind of like it's we're told like it doesn't matter, like our opinion doesn't matter, we're just like one person in like this mass sea of people. And like it's so important when we do get those chances to connect with ourselves, and like if we like something or don't like something, like that could mean a big difference in our world, and like even in the people like right around us. I think it's so important that we like recognize that it's not something to be dismissed, and it's not something that's superficial, because it can really be something that guides you on your path, and it brings you to that place where you do know yourself.
I think I would be even stronger than that, Katie.
Mm-hmm.
I, I believe that it is our duty, almost, dare I say it,
Mm,
to
mm,
to use our strengths and
mm,
do that in a way that suits us. That
mm,
we, I am believe such a strong believer in. Um, you're here for a reason, um, and why would you settle for sitting in that box with the four walls creeping up on you,
mm,
whilst your strengths are so much, you know uh, are so much more than that. So yes,
mm,
strengths is a really, really big part of my coaching, to be clear on who you are, what your strengths are, what you're great at doing, what you love doing, and what is important to you, what your values are, what is core to your being. And I agree, the things that,
mm,
what doesn't suit you, uh, is then the next steps to say, okay, this is me. This is, these are the strengths. These are the things that I love doing that come easy to me. This is what's important and core to my being. And then to go to a place of, okay, what do I want? What dreams did I have for myself when I was little,
mm,
before all the conditioning and of this society was dumped on me?
mhm,
What who did I want to be, and what
mm,
did I see myself doing? Do I still want any of that?
mm.
But also to look ahead and to say, well, what if my grandmother died last year. She was 100 years old, um,
Wow.
and which is a fantastic old age. But if I were lucky enough to get to 100 years old and I look back on my life, what do I not want to regret
Mm,
not doing?
mm,
Because, you know, there is time. You've got time to do the things that you are great at, that are important to you, that you want to contribute to, especially if you live to 100. But what do you not want to regret not doing? And that then becomes about your vision for your life and for your career. What does that look like? What environment do you thrive in?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, when I went through my own career change, one thing that I didn't want to do was commute, sit in a commuter train for 2 hours there and 2 hours back. It was absolutely important, and I'm talking quite um, in an abstract way, but on a very practical level, I did not want to sit in a train for 4 hours a day, or even two.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want that. And these are things that are important. How do you want to do your work? And there are so many options now, especially now with all the remote working and all the technology that we have. How do you want to live? How do you want to
Mm-hmm.
work? And what work do you want to do that is important to you to contribute to? Um, that is what that visioning work, and we talked about visualization earlier, what that is all about, to say, yeah, this is what I want. This is what I want to create for myself. And whatever I do, whatever comes on my path needs to fit that picture. And that still gives you flexibility to do what you to choose what you want to do next. There are multiple jobs that would fit that picture. There are multiple businesses that you can build that fit that picture.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to choose what is on your path and what is definitely not on your path from there.
Mm-hmm. What's the role of passion in that process?
Yeah, passion. Um, you know, when I was still working in corporate roles, sometimes people would leave the organization and they would then write a little bit of a scribble saying, "Oh, I am going to leave the organization because I'm passionate about auditing or marketing,
Mm-hmm.
whatever." And I was always rolling my eyes at that because, I thought, oh gosh, sure. Um, the word passion and I have not got a very easy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. Because when I speak to women, especially in the beginning, when they first come to me, there is this big emphasis on finding your passion. And when I say passion, it's passion with a big P, finding your passion, because if you don't find it, well, then you've wasted your life. That is too much. It's too much to take on. If you have to find this big passion and it doesn't hit you like a ton of bricks straight away, then people feel they failed. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and and that is putting so much burden on what should be a joyful process to finding what it is that you want to do. So I'm more a fan of passion with a little p, or even multiple passions, because I do believe that people are multifaceted, that they've got multiple interests. If I said to you, for your creativity, the only thing you can ever do is doodle, you're going to tell me to go away, wouldn't you? um, because you might want to play the piano, or you might want to do, gosh, goodness knows. You are much more interesting than just one thing. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I describe passion is it's energy. It is what
Mm-hmm.
gives you energy, what lights you up, rather than that gives you joy. That is what to me is passion. What interests you right now? So it takes away two things. One, you don't have to look for this big passion, big P.
Mm-hmm.
it And two, it makes it all, it makes it all much lighter. And also, you don't have to think about what will light you up in 20 years' time, because in 20 years' time, you're a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And in 20 years' time, there's going to be jobs that no one would ever have envisaged existing, because technology will have rolled on, the world will have rolled on, everything will have changed. So let's not put that burden on ourselves. Let's just talk about what interests you, what lights you up, what gives you joy right now. And let's go and create something that incorporates that.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. And I can see how, like thinking about like the path of your client with this process is that like someone might not even know what that is at the beginning if they feel that stuck and constricted. And then kind of like opening themselves up with these creative experiences, like kind of like getting to the point where they like do pique their curiosity and they kind of like open up to this idea that they can find interest in things outside of work and that there are things that are enjoyable and that it's okay for them to feel that way. And I think
Mm.
that's so beautiful. So I'd love to go deeper into this idea of your process to help women get clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I alluded to it already a little bit. My career freedom program is made up of 5 steps, really. The first step, people come to me and they're lost, they're frustrated, they're
Mm,
restless, they're downright unhappy in their job in the first instance. And what we do, first of all, because the women that come to me are often sort of, 35, 40, 45, that sort of age bracket. They've done 10 years at work and 15, 20 years at work. They come to a developmental stage where they no longer um, that willing, if you want, to fit in, but
mm,
instead want to feel like themselves and want to do something important to them. So they're coming to this real crossroads, and that goes with a lot of emotions. So that first step is all about making sense of that.
mm,
Making sense of what is going on for you, but also what is actually stopping you from taking those next steps. Because in that 10, 15, 20 years, you might have changed jobs easily just like that, no problem. You might even have
mm,
changed careers just like that, no problem at all. So why can't you now?
mm,
What is actually stopping you? And often there is a lot of things around. It feels bigger. It feels more transformational. It feels as if this is a defining moment in your development where you can now build something for yourself. So that is that first step. The second step, as I said before, is all about you. So I call it your self portrait,
mm,
which is all about your strengths and your values. So that is really about getting to know yourself again. Yes, through your own self reflection, but also by asking others. I talked a bit earlier about how to take steps out of your comfort zone. Well, this is one, because
mm,
sometimes your strengths are right under your nose and you don't even know it. Things that come so easy to you, that you don't even notice that you've got those strengths.
mm,
So, what do you love doing? What are you great at doing? I do a very good project plan, but do I love it? Possibly not.
mm,
Um, anyway, so strengths and values, that's just the step 2. Step 3 is then all about what is it that you want. So we talk about dreams, about what you wanted when you were little, what it is that you want to not regret not
mm,
doing, double negative.
mm,
Um, And also, what are the things that you really, really love that have to be part of your life right now? And then it is about visioning and say, okay, this is the life I want to build, and this is the career I want to have within it. Then step 4 all becomes about ideas and about testing those ideas in the real world. So earlier I said about the path, what's on your path and what is definitely not on your path.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that path can still be made up of a lot of different stepping stones. So there are jobs that definitely don't fit your path. That's easy. But then there are other things that might fit on that path, but you just need to find out more about it. So by
Mm-hmm.
this stage, often people already know or have some ideas, some things they want to explore, some things they want to investigate further, that they want to have conversations about just to see if it's for them or not.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, they need to go out in the real world. They need to go and talk to someone who does that work or has set up a business that does that work. So that is sort of the test phase when they go out, talk to people, find out, try things out, perhaps volunteer,
Mm-hmm.
do a job shadowing session or whatever, just to see if it's for them. And then the last step, is all about, okay, I've done the testing. This is what I want to do. And often what happens at that stage is that they come up with a short-term plan. I need a job. A medium-term plan. Okay, I perhaps want to do some courses, or I want to do some studying, or there's some other things I need to do, and a longer term plan, which is all aligned with their vision to say, this is what I want to work towards. In 5-10 years' time, this is where I want to find myself. So there are some practical things in there as well,
Mm-hmm.
updating your LinkedIn profile and your CV or resume, or what else? Money is one of the barriers
Mm-hmm.
to changing your careers. How can you come up with a practical, realistic
Mm-hmm.
plan around your money and how you're going to make that transition? If you're going to earn more, then great. But if you're not, how are you going to weather that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and whatever else comes up. Some people want to set up their own businesses. Okay, so what do you need to do for that? Um, some people want to go and study but don't know exactly what, then that's also something. So there are different with every career choice or every life choice. There are different options and different things that you need to think about. So that is what that step 5 is about. It becomes a bit of a menu around
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you want and how are you going to make sure that you get there. And then finally, accountability. We talked about it
Mm-hmm.
before. Accountability is very much about, okay, how are you going to keep on moving yourself forward towards that goal, not just in the short term, but in the medium and in the long term as well, so that you create that vision you've got for yourself, you've created for yourself. So yeah, that wasn't a very short answer to your question, but
I think that was really comprehensive and you can get a clear image of it. And also, I think the listener can also like go through that journey
Mhm.
and see really like if it's something that would benefit them. But I'd love to hear if you could tell me more about your membership.
Yes, so it's actually a community,
Mm.
Katie. So I alluded to the fact that that passion, that I don't really am a believer in one passion. I am a believer in multiple passions, and people are multifaceted. They've got multiple interests, and are creative. So I set up a couple of years ago my free membership, or free community pick and mix,
Mm.
which is literally a mix of different interests. So people can connect with
Mm.
people, find out who does what. It gives an easy way of networking with other people
Mm.
about the interests or the job even that they um, yeah, that they have. And you know, it ranges from, there are people who are interested in nature and the environment. There are people who are interested in creativity and ideas
Mm.
and that sort of stuff. We've got a book club every 2 months. So there's all sorts of things going on in the community. And you know, if anyone wants to join, it is Pick and Mix, the community for creative, multi-passionate women. So yes, literally providing you with a pick and mix of all sorts of interests and ideas.
That's incredible. I'd love to hear more about the role of creativity in this whole process, and
Mhm.
also possibly like what are things that kind of like can block someone from going to that place of being creative or having creative experiences, and how can they overcome it?
Yeah, so I mean, creativity is literally the golden thread throughout all my coaching, um, and is something that I'm interested in more and
Mm,
more. I'm currently in this creativity coaching program,
mhm,
learning more about how to support the women I work with, not just in their careers, but also in their creativity, in their exploits around writing or painting or whatever creative endeavor or creative business even they
mm,
are um, yeah, they're involved in, because I believe it is about building a life, not about building a career. So yeah, for me, creativity is key. Um, as I said in the beginning, before we even start coaching, it is all about uh, starting to spark that curiosity around yourself,
mm,
and around what it is that you want, and about others as well when you go out there.
mm,
So throughout the process, I sprinkle in, if you want, these activities, um, for people to do in between
mm,
coaching sessions, that
mm,
helps them to keep on sparking their creativity, to keep on being curious, and not to um, yeah, scroll job descriptions, stay in their own heads,
mm,
um, do research, because that is
mm,
also one that people like, you know, oh, I've done loads of research. Yes, that means that you've just been scrolling and scrolling some more and scrolling a little bit more. So you're not going to find the answer out there. You're going to find, well, you're not going to find the answer on the internet, let's say that. You're going to find the answer, first of all, inside, by what you want, and then out there to paint a picture of how you can fill in um, your vision with what is feasible, realistic, and enjoyable out in the
mm.
real world. So that is, throughout the process, there are exercises, activities that are really aimed at getting you out there, getting you, well, first of all, getting your creative brain to work,
Mm,
and tap into your creative brain, and then get out there and talk to real people and have real experiences
mm.
that open up your world, and start feeling that picture of what it is that you want to do in your life and career.
Yeah, if I'm hearing this correctly, it seems like a big part of this is that piece where we get to know ourselves in the process.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious, do you find in working with your clients that a lot of people have maybe like devalued or stopped spending time with themselves, like getting to like know themselves, and like how Julia Cameron says it, and I really love this, how she says the artist date, because I feel
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much of it is like when you think about dating, like that's when you get to know your partner, and for the artist date it's with yourself. And
yeah,
I think probably the most valuable piece is that you're actually like giving yourself space to like hear what you is going on inside of you, and also to like experience things and like make judgments on like this is for me, this isn't for me, I like this, I don't like this. And like again, just this idea that that's important and that it's never something we should dismiss, this idea that doesn't it doesn't matter if we know ourselves, because that can be one of like the greatest joys, is getting to know ourselves and who we truly are.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Julia Cameron. I run the Artist Way group once a year. uh, I'm actually in the middle of it right now. So yeah, I am absolutely in agreement with that. For me, this whole process starts with you. What is the point of going through a transformational change in your life and in your career if you don't start with you?
Mm,
What I'm finding with my clients is they're so busy. There is no time, between home and work and children, and there is just no time to listen to themselves at
mhm,
all. Um,
mhm,
so, and that is where you get stuck, because there is literally no, no light between what you do on a day-to-day basis. It is just go, 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 go all the
mhm,
time. And I'm saying you're going to have to clear your schedule somewhat. I'm not saying you've got to clear your schedule completely, because you can't, but
mhm,
even half an hour or 20 minutes a day to give
mhm,
yourself that time to start listening to yourself, to your creative brain, the silent one
mhm,
in the back,
mhm,
that forever gets overshadowed by your logical brain with its to-do lists and its plans and its what you should and shouldn't be doing. But instead, to listen to your creative brain and give yourself that time on an artist date, as you say, or in
mhm,
your journal, in your morning pages, as Julia Cameron would say,
mhm,
um, to get back to you, to hear yourself, and to get to know yourself again, is the bedrock of your transformation. Because at that point, you want to build a career and a life based on your strengths,
mhm,
on who you are, what is important to you, what you're great at, what you love doing. That is the basis of everything. And if you don't give yourself time and permission
mhm,
um, to awaken your creative brain and to listen to it, yeah, that is, for me, that's key. It's key
mhm,
that you do that work through artist dates and journaling, through the process, and through finding out who this person is and where she would thrive.
mhm.
Um, yeah, that's to me is key.
Yeah, I love that, about this idea that it's about thriving.
Mm.
So tell me about your newsletter.
Ah, yes. Um, so I've got a newsletter which is all about this process. So there is from May, I will again start writing on a weekly basis.
Mhm,
I have been transferring my newsletter to Substack.
mhm,
So that should be ready by the end of April, but people are welcome to have a peek
mhm,
preview now. I know you want to. um, but basically, it's aimed at giving you one tip each week to
mhm,
start start going on this, to create this career and life that you want. So it covers a broad range, all the way through the 5 steps that I've just been talking about,
mhm,
all the topics that my clients are encountering, or you might be encountering as you embark on this journey, from the very um, from the very start, where you might feel lost and stuck, um, to the end where it gets practical,
Mhm.
and you get some practical tips and hints on how to move yourself forward. So all of everything that you can encounter, one topic each week. And yes, if any of your listeners would like to join, then I'd certainly welcome that. From the end of April, we should all be good to go.
Yeah, and you can check out that link in the description and show notes. Thank you so much for coming on today.
You're welcome. I've enjoyed it. Thank you, Katie.